Please welcome here for starters our first guest from Switzerland, Mr. Roger Nicolas Balsiger. Ma palun.
Thank you, Andres, for your very kind words of introduction. I understood most of it in Estonian, but not all of it. But anyway, I'd like to thank you for your opening words at the beginning of the session. I particularly liked when you talked about the average age in this room being 36.4%. 36.4. You've just made my day. I will tell my wife when I get home. Switzerland is presently celebrating Estonia. In the last few weeks, we've had the great pleasure of a symphony which had a world premiere in Zurich by Arvo Pärt, your famous composer. It was in favor of, was dedicated to Mr. Khodorkovsky, who was present. Secondly, we are celebrating an official act this Saturday in Zurich about 10 years presence of Estonia in NATO and in the EU. And also last October, we've been able to welcome a ministerial delegation on vocational and educational training, and we've given them a 3-day tour through Switzerland, giving them the idea that we would like to come and visit Tallinn. Here we are, Andres. Thank you very much. Thank you. SITECO is the Association for Swiss International Technical Connection. We promote vocational and educational training in countries who want us to perhaps assist them with our experience. So we are not selling the idea, we are promoting it where we feel a country wants to have our assistance or wants to have our experience and knowledge. So we are not missionaries, we are just here, hopefully, to be able to help. As you've already heard today, vocational and VET, I call it VET, in Switzerland, has a century-long tradition. And it does start with, and here we go, it starts, I can take this one. The one up is on the left. This one. This one, oh, going forward. Right, thank you. We have the guilds that started to become prevalent in the 14th century. And there, of course, you have to see whatever was Switzerland in those days and what it is today. We never had any raw materials in Switzerland. So we had to make knowledge our raw material already in those days, and it hasn't changed. And this knowledge, and it's been mentioned today before, knowledge entails practical training, it contains character building, it contains assuming responsibility at a very young age, and it contains thinking as an entrepreneur. All of this is included in 3 words: quality, quality, quality. That's the only way in which Switzerland can survive. So in the 14th century we created the craftsman for every occupation. But in order to create a craftsman, you have to have a master craftsman to train the craftsman. So that will be the supervisor of today, as we've just heard. So we've had a guild declaration, or created a guild declaration in 1336, which has one sentence included in it, namely, to become a master craftsman, you have to pass a proper apprenticeship. That's the first mention ever, probably, of the word apprenticeship, I would imagine. In the 16th century, apprenticeships were structured. Approbation, contents, length, money paid for training, and it would be the apprentice paying, not the other way around, and final exams. Plus for the craftsman to create a piece of practical work, and for the master craftsman to create a masterpiece of work. Plus, and that was very important in those days, there was a mandatory obligation to go abroad and gain experience, and thereafter to come back to Switzerland and share the experience with others. Now, not everybody came back, so that wasn't compulsory, but going out was compulsory. So the Swiss model was born, including a sense for quality, practical experience, and international. But it was training without schooling, without education at that time. So we turn to the 19th century. Education was added, and we founded industrial associations, we founded the Swiss Mercantile College, all associations in a little after the mid-century, which were all very important and which still all exist today. As from the mid-19th century, especially 1850, there were already final diplomas and final examinations being done, but it was on a voluntary basis. In 1884, the federal government stepped in and promoted vocational and educational training. Promotion also meaning there were the first financial contributions toward VET. But this was based, and that's important, how Switzerland functions, it was based on a proposal of the Swiss Industrial Association. So it wasn't a top-down approach. We don't know top-down approach in Switzerland. We rather know the bottom-up approach, with the government only doing what is necessary and what we feel is needed. Everything else is done privately. And the federal law that came into effect on VET, that was in 1930, and it decreeing final examinations on a compulsory basis, including practical work, professional knowledge, and then theory, meaning education. There you have it in 1930, that was all done. There we had the dual system all concluded. That's right, I have another 10 minutes. My practical example is that very immodestly of my great-grandfather. He was a watchmaker. He founded a watchmaking company, Heinrich Moser, H. Moser and Company. I'm not doing any advertisements for him. He did an apprenticeship with his father, and you can see him there together with his father. These are proper drawings of him. In Schaffhausen, that's the north of Switzerland. It was a 4-year apprenticeship, which he started at the age of 15 and obviously ended at the age 19. So that was from 1819 to 1823. Well, he went on to do a master apprenticeship in Le Locle, which is the French-speaking part of Switzerland. Now you see him there sitting on a swivel chair on the left-hand side. It's a swivel chair. Now, in order to work very effectively, and he had to work very, very hard, whenever food was ready, he would swivel around 180 degrees, eat his soup, or whatever he was given, and then when he had finished, he would swivel around another 180 degrees and carry on working. That's effectiveness. And of course, he had to work hard because he had to pay for the school. In other words, he had to trade watches already in order to make a living, which he did. Fortunately, he was very good at commercial and also at technical, on the technical side. Well, from then on, he went to Russia, to the Tsarist Russia in those days, and he had the advantage of Tsar Nicholas I owning a timepiece which did not work, and no watchmaker could repair it. So they said to the youngster coming in, Heinrich, they said, can you do it? And he could repair it, and from one moment to the other he was accepted at court and of course with the army officers, etc., with those who had money. So he started his own company in St. Petersburg. You can see it here. This is Nevsky Prospect, number 26. It's the corner up there. I'm sure some of you know it. Building still exists. And in 1828, he did that. And then a year later, he started his subsidiary in Le Locle, back in Le Locle, which was the production company. From there, he produced, and then from there on, he was, oh, that was a bit very quick. From there on, he made a tremendous career. He started selling and exporting watches to a degree that there was no competition anymore between St. Petersburg and the Chinese border. And when he came back 1848 to Switzerland, he was a very rich man. And he invested his money into Switzerland, into the northern part of Switzerland, and founded companies. And he also became a real industrial pioneer. And what I'm basically trying to say with this is you can make a career by doing a dual vocational training. He even didn't have the dual one. He didn't have the education. But he certainly, as a result of his craftsmanship, as a result of his entrepreneurship, and as a result of his international approach to matters, he became a very, very successful man. So here you have a case in point, which is a practical case next to the theory that I can give you here. And with this, I think my 10 minutes are not even up, but I'll gladly concede it to Ernst Bujour, whom I think you will introduce. Thank you very much indeed.